The preservation of and increased access to the 92nd Street Y Humanities Audio Archives is generously funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to our About Women series. Before I introduce tonight's guest, I just want to take this moment to inform you of some upcoming evenings in this series that I'm sure you won't want to miss. By the way, my name is Susan Engel, and I direct the Adult Division in the Center for Adult Life and Learning here at the 92nd Street Y. And I'm so pleased to see such a nice crowd here out tonight. On November 10th, Nadine Strawson will be speaking on the new Supreme Court versus women. Then on December 15th, instead of Marilyn French, who is unable to be with us at this time, unfortunately, Robin Morgan, who's the editor of Ms. Magazine, will appear. Also of interest, on February 28th, Patricia Ireland will be speaking about her work with the National Organization for Women. And now for tonight, a different perspective on feminism. The format for this evening will be a talk followed by your questions, and then a book signing in the adjacent art gallery. We are very honored to have back at the 92nd Street Y our guest, who is considered an original and stimulating thinker, who is not afraid to challenge the status quo and inspires people to think about old and new issues with a refreshing new outlook. She is a professor of humanities at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia and is a Renaissance woman whose knowledge of the classics informs her analysis of contemporary culture. Her first book, Sexual Personae, Art and Decadence from Nefertiti to Emily Dickinson, was a New York Times paperback bestseller and took the intellectual world by storm. She attracts controversy wherever she goes and has sparked a heated discussion and debate concerning issues that affect us all, ranging from pornography to date rape to Madonna to MTV, to homosexuality and bisexuality, to contemporary feminism. Ferociously honest, she speaks her mind with a conviction and passion that only an Italian Catholic pagan can. Her most recent book, Sex, Art, and American Culture, which, as I mentioned, will be on sale following the program. And it was just announced that a week from Sunday will be on the New York Times bestseller list. So it is hot. And it is a book that I must say is very compelling and so engrosses, energizes, and entertains that once it's started, it really cannot be put down. Whether or not you agree with her, she is certainly one writer that cannot be ignored. Ladies and gentlemen, Camille Paglia.
It's great to be back at the Y because 2 years ago, I was here, totally unknown, giving this mad lecture on women in Hollywood. And someone in the audience, apparently a woman editor at a publishing house, called the New York Times the next morning and said, just this like crazy woman from Philadelphia who was going on about Madonna and so on. And the Times called me, asked me to write on the, just remember that video that was banned by MTV, asked me to write on that. That was the beginning of everything for me. So I have great fond memories of the Y. And Gloria Steinem probably looks back to that moment with fondness. That's the wonderful moment when she was unknown, not annoying us, and so on today. All right. So let me look at you. I can't see the balcony. Oh dear. Okay, but I can see you. Let me look. Are you scowling? Are you smiling? I'm trying to see. Usually in crowds where people buy tickets, it's a much friendlier crowd. The fans get to it, before the enemies, and so, So, oh, you seem so nice. We'll see whether that continues through the evening. All right. Anyway, I love following Gloria Steinem, you know. Gloria and the girls were here, I hear, the other week, you know. Oh dear, I was quite rude about them in the San Francisco Examiner this past Sunday. I said, well, now this is going to hold your ears. I said about Faludi and Wolf, third wave my ass is what I said. I said what they represent is a falling back into the outmoded Steinem ideology. I call them lackeys and minions of Steinem. And I said about Faludi, I said, whom I like, actually, personally like, leaving Wolf aside for the moment, I said about... I said about Susan Faludi, I said that at first it must have seemed to her fabulous to have the imprimatur endorsement of Gloria Steinem, but I said, you know, she's going to discover carrying Gloria Steinem on your back is a big, heavy burden. Okay, anyway, here I am as the alternate voice in this series, okay? At this point, with my latest book out, I hope I don't have to give the endless reprise of the disasters of my life, okay, all of which are there. But basically it's this, okay? Let me just give the rapid version of this, which is basically, feminism is 200 years old, okay? It goes all the way back to Mary Wollstonecraft in 1790, okay? My feminism predates Gloria Steinem's, okay? Predates Betty Friedan's book, even, okay? So I'm not going to accept people telling me that I am not a feminist. I mean, Gloria Steinem says this, you know. I mean, I made sure to put the quote in the back of my book in the bibliography, okay, where she said to The Advocate a few months ago, Steinem said, for Camille Paglia to call herself a feminist is like a Nazi saying they're not anti-Semitic. Okay, all right? Right. Great grammar, you know, as well. Okay. Now, excuse me, even Betty Friedan was pointed out in Playboy like 2 months ago that Gloria Steinem got into the movement a little bit late. She was dragged into it, you know? And I'm not coming out of them. You know, I love Betty Friedan. I think she's great, even though she said some rude remarks about me. In the same interview, she said something like, who can take her seriously? You know, she's just an exhibitionist. Well, I'm an exhibitionist to be taken seriously. I mean, yeah. I'm Italian, okay, you know. We invented opera. You remember this? This is if opera is not exhibitionism, I don't know what it is. Okay. But despite the rude remarks she made about me and the fact that she called Naomi Wolf's book a major work, even Homer nods. So even Betty Friedan has her lapses, right? But Betty Friedan and I agree about a lot of things, and I think that one of the pivotal moments was when she was shunted aside for Gloria with her streaked hair. That was a bad moment as far as I'm concerned. Now I want to say right from the start that I admired Gloria Steinem 20 years ago. I want to make this clear. Gloria Steinem's contribution to feminist history will remain. That is, at a particular moment when the feminists had a kind of bra-burning, fanatical, persona in the American media, Steinem came forward, and with her very soothing manner, she had this very mature, soothing manner. She liked to talk like this on TV and so on and so forth. And it was she who normalized the image of the feminist and made it possible for a middle America to accept feminism as a legitimate enterprise and not just a kind of, another one of the swirling excesses of the late 60s. As a matter of fact, I was such an admirer of her that when Time magazine at that time, a few years into her fame, did this article, can we ever conceive of the idea of a female president? They asked for readers to write in with nominees. I wrote in and I said, Gloria Steinem. I said, when her beauty dims, I said, she will be wise and intelligent. So therefore, my sense of disappointment with Steinem comes from early admiration of her. And despite my disappointment, still, in my women's courses every year, I make the students know her name. I mean, this was before her recent book. Her name was lost to the young. I mean, they really had never heard of her. So I would make sure they knew all about Ms. Magazine, as the founder of Ms. Magazine, the famous Playboy bunny story, and so on and so forth. So Gloria Steinem's name has always appeared in every exam I've ever given in my women's studies course, and if I'm fighting with her now, that will continue. But at any rate, here's the point. Here's the point. For 20 years, Miss Gloria did not change or evolve. This is what happened. See, the Faluti's book Backlash, it's a big lie. The idea that somehow the media is in a conspiracy, anti-feminist conspiracy, to roll back the gains of feminism, that is such a crock, okay? Because the truth of the matter was, from the moment Steinem appeared on the scene, the New York media became servile to the Steinem brand of feminism. I, as a proto-feminist, okay, earlier than these feminists, all right, could not get heard for 20 years. I've been struggling. From the moment the first feminist books were appearing, the first women's studies books, the New York Times Book Review, for example, assigned them to feminist reviewers. I mean, they've never been reviewed. Gilbert Goodbar were never reviewed. I mean, it was all this like just fanzine stuff coming out of other feminists. I mean, any establishment feminist voice has been squelched by the media's servility to Gloria Steinem. And what happens if she's here in New York, she's like a person who's in media, she runs a magazine, she goes to party to party to party to party, she works that circuit, everyone knows her. I mean, every time there's a Lily Tomlin opening, they all turn out like this, and so on and so forth. Okay, right? They have no idea. Gloria Steinem has had in her head for 20 years, that somehow she is the voice of rebellion against the masculine establishment. What is she talking about? She is the establishment. Gloria Steinem is the establishment. It's utter, and it has been, every time there was any criticism of anything that had to do with a prefab feminist ideology that Gloria Steinem did not create, but that she sucked into herself. I mean, she took it in. She's not a creator of any new system, okay? She's someone who took on an ideology that was already in the air, and she enforced it. And anytime there was a breath of criticism or attempted critique of that, even by other feminists, it was squelched. And they blew everyone off. They didn't read any books for 20 years, except books that they agreed with. And by the way, where Steinem has been extremely destructive is in her blurbs. She's one of the greatest practitioners of what I call bloated blurbism. Okay, this is a Paglia term. Bloated blurbism is when you have this huge, fatuous, overpraise on the back of a book. And I think someone should do this. Spy magazine or somebody should go and find all these blurbs. Steinem has been overpraising these lousy books for 20 years. Meanwhile, here's a major female intellectual, okay, who couldn't get anywhere, okay, and instead she calls me a Nazi, right? I'm the Nazi, okay, all right? And yet every new Marilyn French's book, if there's one book you read this year, you must read this. This is a book of the highest scholarship, blah, blah, blah. Marilyn French has said about her recent book, this is the new one. Marilyn French said, "For this I did an incredible amount of research. Over the period of 5 years, I read 100 feminist books and 500 feminist articles." This is her idea of research. I mean, when you go into an echo box, I mean, like, all you're getting is your ideology bouncing back. You see, I mean, Steinem has been a force of disorder insofar as she has been endorsing these books that are just mediocre and filled with propaganda. Kremlin books. Okay, all right. All right. So anyway, I'm not going to go into the endless saga now that it's in the new book, okay, of my feminism that goes back to the mid 1950s when I was a tiny child and making transsexual gestures at Halloween and all that. And in early 1960s, the Syracuse newspaper was reporting that I'm doing this Amelia Earhart book. That's in the early 60s. Okay, that's before Betty Friedan's book was out. Okay, so I'm not going to take any guff from anybody about you're not a feminist. Since when does Gloria Steinem define what is and what is? That's ridiculous. All right, this idea that somehow the feminist establishment in New York, all right, is the same thing as all feminism. Okay, all right. Gloria Steinem is the great gatekeeper. The issue of the visas. You are a feminist. You are not a feminist. Since when? Since when? Okay, all right. And so on. Okay. First of all, that in the media has totally capitulated this nonsense, like the cover of Time magazine. The war against women. The war against women. Criticize Gloria Steinem, and you're criticizing all of women. Okay. Now, number one, her brand of feminism is not all of feminism, okay? And all of feminism does not speak for all of women, okay? So, right. So the point is, when I criticize feminist ideology, I'm called anti-woman. I'm called anti-woman constantly. Now, for a woman who spent 20 years as an open lesbian, this is stupid, okay? I mean, ridiculous. I mean, how am I anti-woman? That makes no sense, whatever. All right. But you see, what I'm exposing, whether people like me or hate me, what I have exposed is the insularity and the Kremlin mentality of the feminist establishment, because it's so obvious. I'll give you an example. When the Cleveland Plain Dealer was doing this article on me last year, it was like this cover story, and they got a member of the National Advisory Board of Now to make a comment about me. They were trying to get people would refuse to comment, refuse, that woman, they refused to comment. But this woman said, here's what she said. This is a year ago. Okay, ready? She said, Camille Paglia is just trying to earn money, and she's doing a very good job of it. A book like hers comes out every year. I have a whole filing cabinet filled with them. Now, number one, look what this exposes, okay, about the feminist establishment. Number one, the big lie. The big lie, Kremlin. If there's anyone, okay, who has established her indifference to money, okay, I mean, I put my 60s values into operation. I was broke. I was on the unemployment line, okay, I could not get a job. If there's anyone who has paid her dues as far as money goes, it's me. The big lie. That woman knew nothing about me. She's just trying to earn money, and she's doing a very good job of it. What was she talking about, okay? I mean, I hadn't earned any money at that point. Okay, now I have, okay, right? So I had to move, all right, anyway. So, from an apartment, all right, anyway, to a house. But I mean, I hate it. I hate owning things. I just hate it. I don't feel comfortable at all. All right, I'm 60s. All right, anyway. Okay, but the second part of that statement, okay, a book like hers comes out every year. Now, you can see by that woman had never even seen my book, which wasn't in paperback yet, because my book is like, you need a wheelbarrow to carry the Yale Press edition, right? A book like that comes out every year. Oh, I didn't know there were that many books that go all the way from the Venus of Willendorf and Nefertiti to Emily Dickinson. I didn't know that. A book every year. Oh, gee, And your filing cabinet is what you see. What does that say? It's sort of like, here's the book, and we'll put it right in the cabinet. They don't read. They haven't read anything in 20 years, okay? See what I mean? All right. So anyway, there's that, and then let me show you the other kind of response. Susan Brown Miller told the LA Times about me, the big story of me. She said, Camille Paglia is a gnat who will at some point go away. Now you see, look, there it is again, okay? A gnat. I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm a gnat, right? Now, I mean, see again, a gnat with a 700-page book. I mean, see. Now you can see that at that point was a year after the book was out. She had never looked at my book. See, I mean, and for her to be making such statements, now you see what I have exposed is, if they're behaving like that to me, a woman with a 700-page book on the whole history of art that came out from Yale University Press, how have they been behaving to women who are just like women who are not Amazons, okay? Women who are not strident, okay? They have been silencing every dissident voice for 20 years. I'm sick and tired of this, okay? So when people say, oh, she's just a product of the media, probably, or it's the backlash, and it's through the men who are pushing her forward, that's untrue, okay? It's women who have been silenced and screamed at for 20 years and pushing me along, and they're delighted they finally have this person who get her revenge. I'm getting revenge. I'm the avenger, okay? I am making a lot of people's lives miserable, okay, who made other people's lives miserable. I mean, wherever I go, whatever college I go to, I am swamped, okay, by women who are young women and older women who say to me, tell these horror stories of being yelled at in faculty meetings, in offices and so on. It's just the bullying that has been going on from these women who I don't think are even real feminists. Because my explanation is that the reason that so many of these feminists are so rigid and sanctimonious in their views is that, in essence, these people have drifted from their own religious or cultural heritage, and they are looking for a metaphysical system, okay? That's what they're looking for. And therefore, they've glommed onto feminism as a substitute for what used to be, filled by religion. Therefore, when you try to reason with these people, okay, it's hopeless because they have never thought through their assumptions. They're not even aware they have assumptions. They're like articles of faith, all right? Like the word patriarchy, which is a big, meaningless, dirigible of a word that everyone swears to, from the pro-sex, wing of feminism all the way to the anti-sex wing. Everyone believes in patriarchy. Well, that word is meaningless except when applied to something like Republican Rome. It's a meaningless word, but it has as much reality to these people. It's like Blake's mind-forged manacles. It's patriarchy. It's like this enormous thing. It's like visions of hell. Okay. For pre-modern Christians. Hell existed in their minds. Everyone talked about it. Hell was this place where all those sinners, they had a huge, the whole side of the back wall of a lot of Italian chapels, including the Sistine Chapel, right, is painted with these visions of the Last Judgment and hell and so on. Hell was so vivid to them, they literally saw it in their minds. There was hallucinations. They dreamed about it. They wrote about it. Dante devoted an entire, thing, the Inferno, to it, okay, and so on. That's what patriarchy is today. You know what I'm saying? It's like patriarchy, this hell, okay? The hell in which women have been raped and tortured throughout history and all that. And it exists in their minds, okay? But it does not exist in reality. So I'm going around, see, I'm basically deprogramming. That's what I'm doing. I'm a deprogrammer, okay? And I'm going around, I'm finding all these brainwashed people, and I'm trying to pull them back into reality, because boy, are they lost to the world. Anyway, okay, so, basically I think you probably want me to dish. Okay, so I'll just continue. You seem to like me to dish, so I will continue. I'll continue with the names. Okay, the names. All right. You want my opinion on the names. Okay, so again, I want to say that Gloria Steinem's contribution to getting this phase of feminism launched is solid, but in the last 20 years she has acted, as far as I'm concerned, as a kind of Stalin figure. She's been an oppressor, and she is the great, she is the patron saint. She's the... Huh? Wait. All right, let me go on to the next other names. Now, Germaine Greer, okay, I want to talk about a bit because, again, I don't know why people are yelling. I can't imagine why. You want to be down here with me, honey? You want to date? What gender is that person? What gender is that person yelling? Just obviously very hot. Who is that? Who's yelling? Let me get a look at this person. All right, give me your name afterwards. All right. Anyway, shut up. No one cares about your opinion about things. Shut up. Just shut up. I won't continue with this kind of disorder. I won't continue with this kind of childishness. These people are children. This is really juvenile. Yeah, right. I just came back from the West Coast where there were far more civilized people there, let me tell you, all right? I mean, this shows you the juvenility that happens. When you get feminism in your head for 20 years, you're stunted at age 12. That's obviously what happens. We have 12-year-olds here, acting out. All right, anyway, let me continue. Now, Germaine Greer, okay, whom I happened to meet the other night for the first time in my life, okay, and I find her a very grand lady indeed, at this point. And in my opinion, if Germaine Greer had stayed on her original track, I've said this, okay, all of feminism would have been different because there was a fabulous moment there in the early 70s when Germaine Greer, she had a fabulous sexual persona. She had it all together. She was witty, she was stylish, she was literate, okay? And for me, like the seminal moment there was a great confrontation she had with Norman Mailer at Town Hall. That was just so wonderful. And the next morning, she said to the newspapers, and I said this to her the other night, I think that was the moment when feminism had it all together. She said about Norman Mailer the next morning, she said, I was expecting a hard, nuggety sort of man, but he was positively blousy, like that. And that seems to me the voice, okay, that women should have, not the raging voice of resentment and endless litany of atrocities and all that. That is the voice, superior, stylish, okay, she had it. But 3 years later, I saw her giving a lecture when I was teaching at Bennington. I went over to Albany, State University of New York at Albany, and heard her, and it was gone. Whatever it was, when feminist history, the last 25 years is, written, we have to examine this. What happened? What happened in those 3 years? Between the time that wonderful and witty, book was written, The Female Eunuch, which I think is a wonderful book. I loved it, okay, and it just was so, her sense of satire was so great, and she's lost that. I think that her current writing, even though she's satirical in person, her writing has lost its satire. Like I think that the new book on menopause needs that voice again, I think, in it. But 3 years later, she was carrying on. I saw her in person, and I just was shocked, okay, shocked, because she looked different, totally different. She looked you know how Vanessa Redgrave, went from like being very fabulous and blow up to suddenly that look that she got. It was sort of like that, those obsessive eyes like this, which made her perfect for the part that she played in Julia as the political figure, all right? But like that, that she's sort of like, so that the ideas have victimized her. She's the victim of her own ideas, sort of like that. And that's what I felt about Greer. It was like she was carrying on. There was not the slightest wit and the slightest humor or balance or anything. And so on and on about the problems of women, in Pakistan and so on and so forth. So anyways, at the end, I raised my hand and I asked, from the audience, I said, did she plan on writing essays again on literary and artistic subjects? And she said, no, there are far too many important things in the world than literature and art, like that. And that's when I knew feminism was going astray. Okay, so the problem that I'm trying to correct now in 1992 is basically that's when everything started going wrong, right? Because when you have a movement that goes entirely into political thinking and away from literature and art, away from any consideration of the spiritual dimension, then you have the disaster that happened later. Because to me, if you're going to understand literature and art, you have to immerse yourself. It seems to me sex, literature, art, myth, all these things are, they're all so interrelated with each other. If you want to really understand what's going on in the sort of the psychodrama of our lives, we have to just totally absorb the full artistic record, both visual and literary. That's the only way, because then you understand the complexities of human life. When we had that separation from Freud, which happened 20 years ago, all right, in the feminist movement, you get what you have today, which is a kind of over-reliance on jargon phrases, on the kind of dogmatic utterances of the sort like no always means no, rape is a crime of violence but not of sex, that kind of thing, okay? When you have people actually believing that such phrases, okay, can translate fully the sort of chaos of our instinctual and sensory life, then you realize you're dealing with Philistines. What's happened basically is that Philistines have taken over the women's movement. From the very start, there was this idea, the famous story with me is the story about the Rolling Stones, where I got driven out. The New Haven Women's Liberation Rock Band practically lynched me over my endorsement of the Rolling Stones as the greatest rock band. And it was at that point, one could see it happening, that there was a sense that art was the slave of some political agenda, that art was the servant of political correctness. This is the Stalinist view. Now, there was a moment there when two major people should have helped feminism to critique itself, and one of them was Greer, who was so trained in literature and art. I mean, she should have provided that critique, but instead became part of the problem. And the other person, alas, the person who really could have helped was Susan Sontag. Okay, she had the fame, she had the position. Okay, she had the intellect, she had the learning, she had the right point of view about art. And what did she do? She did nothing. She sat on her hands at that moment. It was a certain moment where people miss a moment. I mean, men and women both miss such moments in history, okay? But I think that was the moment Sontag began to get her feet wet a little bit. She wrote an interesting piece on women and aging, okay? And then she had this disdain, I think, for the whole hoi polloi, is what I think it is. It's sort of like, who are these tacky people? I'm not going to deal with them. It's sort of like that. And she withdrew at the very moment when she should have pushed forward and become a real, mentor to the emerging feminist movement, and insisted that its ideology integrate itself with aesthetics. And because she did not do that, here I am 20 years later, and I'm doing it, okay? That's going to be my contribution to feminism, is that I am bringing a sense of art back to it. And I'm trying to get it back into the main line of aesthetics and of intellectual history too. So it's sort of sad, and I think that also Greer has a kind of snobbery too. I mean, I think that's why she left academe. I'm sorry about that. Both those women, the fact that they left academe. Sontag was going through graduate school, didn't complete her doctorate, although she was studying for it, and then I believe Greer at that point had been for 7 years at the University of Warwick. When you suddenly get famous, the attitude is, well, why do I have to deal with these cretins, these morons on the committee? Who are these people? And so they just went off on their own. And I think both women lost, okay, and the culture certainly lost, by the departure of Greer and Sontag from academe. Both those women could have transformed and revolutionized academe even larger than the mere feminist question, okay? And so I think that was disastrous. And in certain ways, I think neither of them evolved in their thinking even from that day forward. Too early celebrity, quick, hot, early fame, I think can stunt you, and I think it happened to those two women. Here are two major figures. Feminism needed those major figures, and instead, feminism was left to, as I say, the Philistines. That's who took over. All right. Now, I've expressed my admiration of Betty Friedan. Let me go on and say that, in terms of what's been happening recently. Now, I've reviewed Suzanne Gordon's book, which is Prisoners of Men's Dreams, which talks about two different kinds of feminism. One is the one she endorses, and one is the one I endorse. And I'm an equal opportunity feminist. Okay, that is, I believe that it is the mission of feminism to seek the full political and legal equality of women. That is, equality within the social frame, within the social realm. Now, what I have done in my thinking, I think that it seems to be taking hold. It's taken me a long time. I keep on making the point, but people are starting to understand what I mean by this. The error of the feminist movement in the last 20 years has been to identify our full identity with the social realm. That has been the error, okay? Within the social realm, which I describe as a kind of Apollonian frame, a structure that men created, all right? Within that, that's the area of jobs. This is when you go in the morning, 9 to 5, you go with the briefcase, okay? That is where sexual harassment guidelines have weight. It's where, women should have no bar to their advancement or promotion and so on, okay? But again, we are much bigger than merely our social selves. Surely, and I pointed out, this is the first principle that you learn in Hinduism or Buddhism or Christianity. You learn not to identify yourself totally with your social self, okay? And certainly that was what the 60s were all about. The 60s were all about dropping out of that and finding yourself through giving up your possessions or going to India or living on a commune or whatever. So this is what's happening. This is why I call the current brand of feminism Yuppie Feminism, okay? Yuppie Feminism is when you believe that the whole world has to be made safe for your career advancement in the, upper middle class, profession, okay, all right? And I think that that's the problem with the Faludi and Naomi Wolf view of the world. They literally know nothing outside of their own realm. It's absolutely extraordinary. To me, even just photographs of them telegraph that, or should. I call Susan Faludi the Mary Tyler Moore, okay, of contemporary feminism. And she's very nice. I met her on the Donahue, we were on the Donahue show together. I liked her a lot. But I can see that she's never thought through any assumption, that has been given to her by feminism, although in this recent thing, this past Sunday, this classic thing that the San Francisco Examiner put out that should have been done in New York. By the way, if you want to see an example of Steinem's control here, the Times should have done this. Instead, it remained for San Francisco to do. That is, the whole magazine section of the Sunday papers was devoted to Faludi, interviewed at length, Wolf interviewed at length, me interviewed at length, and for the first time we were allowed to debate and be catty with each other and really deal with the issues and so on and so forth. Why wasn't that done on the East Coast? Why? Because Steinem rules here. That's why. Okay. So, but as I say, Mary Tyler Moore. Just look at her. I mean, like we just here. I mean, it's so amazing to me. What happened between the women of my generation of the '60s and the women of Susan Faludi's generation? I don't understand that, because we were very ballsy. We are the '60s. We were kind of like, we use four-letter words. We wanted to do things. You can before feminism, before this phase of feminism burst forth in the late '60s. My generation of the '60s had already created a new kind of individualistic woman. I mean, you can see it take a movie like there's a great documentary on Jimi Hendrix. It's quite long, it's about 2 hours long. And you see some of his girlfriends talking, and they were like groupies, groupies of the bands, and they had actually Angie Bowie is a kind of survival of that period. Okay, right? You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like it's kind of like they're heterosexual, although wait, Angie has had her flings, but no, but I mean they're basically heterosexual, but they're really kind of tough. They're like incredibly sexy. The sort of groupie style, and they talk like this, and these were basically middle-class women who had identified strongly with the kind of street style. It's a style I very much admire. Like Lisa Sliwa does that actually, of the Guardian Angels. I like her a lot. Like me, she's a middle-class girl who is identified with a street style. Okay, it's like you are like a warrior, okay, and you use words as a weapon. You don't say, oh no, what did he say to me? Oh, I'm going to go and go to the Campus Grievance Committee. He said this about me. Help me, Mommy and Daddy, please help me. Like that. I hate that. That's yuppie feminism, where you have to run to a committee to help you, right? All right. So at any rate, you know I'm talking about, the Mary Tyler Moore analogy that I'm making with Susan Faludi, right? It's sort of like, because she often says, I should speak out more. Susan Faludi's always talking like this. I wish I could, I'm finally learning to find my voice. Well, Paglia has never had a problem with her voice. I mean, do you notice this? I mean, like, who's the better model? Who's the better model? Susan Faludi, who's struggling to be heard like this. I mean, she's so shy, and so, like Mr. Grant, like that, like that, that kind of thing. I mean, the hair. Susan Faludi, the hair is 70s hair. You know what I'm saying? And then what's these are the hair queens, and then Wolf with the hair. I mean, Faludi is 33 almost, and Wolf is going to be 30. I mean, what's this with this hair? I mean, like Wolf's hair, which is like a 13-year-old style. See, to me, the hair represents that long hair on those old, the people who are that old. That to me represents in this culture, not in other cultures where it has different meanings. Okay, that's not on Sonia Braha where it means wild woman coming, from like that. No, I'm on these women. Okay. The hair, to me, is they're hanging on to the past, okay? You don't want to let it go. I've noticed this, because I'm a teacher for 22 years, okay? Right? And I've had thousands of students. And I'm always, judging, and I'm helping them along and developing. And I have seen this before, this thing with the hair, okay? Very, very long hair. It's like this something, you just are hanging on. I want to say break free, get rid of it, move on. It's a kind of underlying depressiveness, okay, is what I diagnose in this culture with this long hair. Now, I hope I haven't insulted everyone who had the hair. But anyway, all right, I didn't mean to do that, okay, all right, but I just had to, all right. Anyway, all right. Oh, the people who love long hair here are mad. All right. Anyway, okay. So let me go on to sketch what I'm going to substitute for yuppie feminism, okay? Now, sometimes I call my new feminism drag queen feminism, okay? Oh, yay, the drag queens are here. Oh, good. Oh, yes. Oh, thank God. Some of them are here. Oh, thank God. Help me. Defend me. Okay. And by drag queen feminism, I mean that the drag queen to me is a symbol of the feminist of the 21st century. That is, of a feminist who accepts the full history of woman's sexuality. That is the full regalia, the costume, the overt sluttiness, of the whole thing, going all the way back to Helen of Troy, like that, okay? It's a kind of diva mentality, like that. Because for me, woman is not a victim. Woman is the dominant sex, okay? This is what I am saying. I am saying that feminism's concentration on merely the social realm as a sum total has missed the fact that outside the social realm, in the realm of nature, in this huge overarching thing behind this scheme of social life, woman has been dominating for like 1,000,000 years, okay? And everyone knows this in the unconscious. Everyone in some way knows that woman is dominant, and the drag queen knows this. The drag queen loves, the dominatrix persona of woman, okay? And I love the way the drag queen it lives on the street. You see, I sometimes also call my new feminism streetwise or street smart feminism. That is, it's a feminism that accepts the street. It accepts the energy, the hostile energy of the street. The street is a combat zone. The street is a highly sexual arena, okay, where prostitutes live, okay, and where you have, where sex and danger are commingled, where you have to go forth as a kind of warrior. Now, I teach in downtown Philadelphia, and when I get out of my car and I go to work, I mean, the way I'm walking is like the walking of the street. You signal the way you're walking, that you are wary and you're looking around you, and you have this whole huge thing around you. It's like that, okay, all right? And then I see the yuppie girls, okay, all right, with their Walkmans on, I can do whatever I want. And I want to say no. Let's accept the street, accept the danger of the street. I think that the problem today with too much of American feminism, because by the way, my contacts with the world press have shown me that I'm in agreement with most of the world, and the world is most in agreement with me. And they often ask me to explain to them, what is this hostility to your views about rape and all these sexual harassment and so on are in sync with the rest of the world. I have to explain, well, you have to understand, American feminism is like this Disney world. It's got its own rules, its own laws, its own ideology. I mean, these people think they have the truth. I've spent 35 years of my life, I'm 45, I spent 35 of it actively thinking about sex and, what I am, male or female or gay or straight or whatever, right? And I still don't have the answers, to the great sexual questions. And it amazes me. There are all these people who have come to the answer so quickly. Oh, Paglia, she's horrible. Gee, how amazing, how quick they just amazingly, got to the truth. I think that, remember what Socrates said? That the wise man knows he is ignorant. So when you have all these people so sure of themselves, you know that you're dealing with very limited people, and that's what you're dealing with. All right. So, at any rate, my vision of a new feminism is one that is absolutely open to art, okay, and accepts that art can never be controlled by any political agenda, okay, accepts all the dark secrets that are in there, and that's why I think art and pornography flow into each other. I'm a great defender of pornography. I don't think you can say this is art or this is erotica and that's pornography. That seems to me ridiculous and absurd. So in Sexual Personae, I demonstrated that there's pornography in all, some of the greatest artists and artworks like Michelangelo. I think, what I did in terms of subversiveness, what I've done to the Pietà of Michelangelo, that I demonstrated that the Pietà of Mary and Jesus, okay, in the Vatican, I demonstrated that was a work of homoerotic pornography. I should get an award, okay, from the gay press, but no, bitch. That's all I get from the gay press, Thank you. All right, some sort of. All right. Okay, so the new feminism would be open to art and allow art to speak for itself and allow it to, say, maybe all these verbal formulas don't correspond to the reality of our sexual nature and so on, all right? So it's going to be open to art, and it's also completely open to sex. And now, here is, one of my, most latest controversial things, and that is, as someone, who was an open lesbian in college and at the Yale Graduate School. I was the only open lesbian at the Yale Graduate School, so I paid my dues, so my enemies can eat my dust as far as I'm concerned, all right? You don't think my career suffered from my being an open lesbian, please, okay? So now, though, here it is 20 years down the line, 25 years, and I have to say, and I have to speak what I think is the truth, and I think that lesbian feminism is becoming a dead end, okay, is what I think. and that I'm currently espousing bisexuality for women, okay, as a universal principle, okay? You know, what I'm saying. I want all women to have sex with all women. You know, I think that it should not be just kept with over here in lesbianism and so on. And I think that women have a natural talent for bisexuality, and that it's harder for men for various reasons. This is one of the areas where women show their superiority to men, okay, in the fact that they can let the brain open freely, okay? So I have to say that I just feel that this current brand of lesbian feminism that's been like going on in this like grinding way now for like 15, 17 years, once a girl falls under its sway, okay, that girl does not develop intellectually, okay? I'm speaking as a teacher from experience, okay? Now, you know, I want to say, oh no, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. No, it isn't. It isn't so wonderful. I don't notice like all the incredible creativity being released, okay? All I notice is a lot of people going around, you know, whether it's in queer film or queer this or queer that, saying this is wonderful, this is wonderful, this is wonderful, just judging by content, checklist, good content, good content, good content, good content. What I want is a reintegration, okay, first of all, of gay culture with the rest of society. The huge gay ghetto that has happened, okay, is bad for both. It's bad for the gay world and it's bad for the heterosexual world. I think that there was a moment for gay activism. It was a very important moment, Stonewall and so on. I played my role in gay liberation, and everyone who knows, how I was in my first job at Bennington, I mean, I left a trail. I mean, I left a trail of obnoxiousness, okay, wherever I have been, okay, I've been there. I mean, I stuffed my lesbianism down people's throat. I wasn't getting anything for it. You understand? I mean, it's one thing to get the pain. I got no pleasure for it, whatever. I mean, there was no one to date in that period. Or I just went, yeah, I'm a lesbian. I'm just like, just absolutely. I made so many people uncomfortable, for like, 25 years, all right, and so on. But basically what I'm saying, there was a moment for gay activism, and it was, a time if homosexual behavior is repressed, then it's important for people to define themselves as gay and to fight against that and to be militant. Now it's time for reassessment and to think that, all right, what is in the best interest of everyone, okay, of the human race? The human race, what is in the best interest of it, okay? And I think that there's now an artificial division between gay and straight that it has to be a subject of a new revolution. For me, I think the ultimate revolution will be in sexual terms when everyone accepts the continuum of sex desire. Everyone accepts the fact that we're born with a bisexual potential. And then for various reasons, I mean, this is why I believe in hormones very strongly because of my own experience. That is, I was, my earliest memories are being attracted to women and falling in love with women. And then suddenly at puberty, the hormones kicked in. And it was like, boom. Okay, and this thing happened, and suddenly I found my body, okay, doing something I wasn't happy with, okay? My body was attracted to these creatures, these men whom I couldn't stand, okay? And this is, I'm sort of like this kind of Frankenstein experiment, and I thought, oh, what is this? And see, and that's why I believe that something in your mind can be divorced from what the body is doing. The body is being, compelled to mate with creatures that I politically rejected, okay? And, most people in their lives try to conceal their homosexual impulses, and that's not been my history. I've been embarrassed about my heterosexual impulses for 25 years. So finally, 10 years ago, I said, the hell with it, okay? I was just tired of like hiding it, okay? So now I'm saying I'm bisexual, but nothing has really changed, okay? Nothing has really changed. I'm still a nun, that nothing has changed. But here's the point. I was using all this, I was blocking. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of like a whole feminist ideology encouraging young women not to follow their natural impulses. I'm sick of it. So what we have is, I want to encourage, women to sleep with each other. It's great. However, I want to stop them from saying, okay, I'm in love with this girl, therefore I'm gay. I want to say, you're in love with the girl, go with it. Go with it. Maybe this is the love of your life, go with it. Keep open, keep the whole sensorium open, okay? And if you have problems with men, resolve your problems with men. I certainly have had problems with men. I mean, I have been out there. My record of confrontation with men is better than any one of the leading, members of feminism. Let me tell you, Gloria Steinem's record with men, her dating record, Mort Zuckerman, give me a break. I have never lived with a man, okay? I have never let any man take advantage of me. I have never been weak toward men. I have punched and kicked men. I have hit them over the head with umbrellas. You know, I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. Not a day goes by, there's not some big incident. You know, my poor publicists are always like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? Et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So what I'm saying basically is that, you know, that confrontationalism, you know, belongs to kind of, I think, an adolescent phase of one's life. And I think that current feminist ideology freezes women in adolescence, okay? So what we have here is a whole huge crop of aging adolescents. They go through their 20s, through their 30s, through their 40s, through their 50s. I feel it's literally true. And I began to feel this very strongly. I mean, my best friends have always been gay men and so on. I've tried desperately, okay, to, you know, to get lesbians to take me seriously or to date lesbians. It's hopeless. There's just nothing going on between me and them. It's like, you know, straight women seem to like me because, you know, they seem to pick up in me my kind of masculine energy or whatever, my virility, whatever it is they pick up. But, you know, I began noticing, like, when I went to Philadelphia, which is like almost 9 years ago, everyone said, oh, God, that's great. Oh, there are hundreds, there are thousands of gay women there. Finally, Camille has been so miserable. You know, all right, so I put in my time. Okay? I went to these bars. I went to these big things. I went to them, you know, and I thought, oh my God, I would just stand there. I would try to get something going, try to get conversations going. I thought, why can't I converse with gay women? What is the problem? Then suddenly a gay man would go by, all right? You know, it could be he was someone sweeping the floor. You know, he dropped out of school at 14. Suddenly I'm in a 3-hour conversation with this man, okay? You know, we're talking about Lana Turner. We're talking about this. We're talking about that. He has opinions. On, you know, I thought, what is this? What is this problem that I have? And then finally the last straw was I went to this giant thing. It was like a Labor Day thing. Everyone from Philadelphia, from South Jersey, all these lesbians, they all went to Atlantic City for this giant thing. I thought, wow, there's going to be like 1,000 lesbians there. Finally, I've got to meet someone. So I go there, and I walk in. You needed earplugs. Okay, there's a shrill sound, okay, that lesbians have, okay, no matter what their age, when they all get that like this, and so on. And where's the sex? Where is the sex? Okay? Where is it? Okay? Go to a gay men's bar, it's like, sizzle, 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 you know, You can just feel it. You feel the sex, okay? Now, all right, my experience as an alienated anthropologist, okay, with the lesbian world is this, okay? I now conclude, okay, that lesbians, you know, all this talk about, oh yes, pro-sex, blah, blah, blah. In fact, they love to form kinship groups. That's what they form. Okay? This is why it's impossible as a stranger just walking to a lesbian bar. I mean, now and then now, I think in the urban centers you're starting to have women going and picking up, but on the whole, that's still not characteristic of the world, you know, of lesbian world. You still have kinship groups. That is, you join this kinship group, all right? And that you know, the musical beds, everyone knows that. You know, Sue used to be going with Alice, who was going with, you know, Edna, who was going with, you know, so on, all right? And what happens is you never get them when they're alone. They're always like setting up the next one before they break up with the last one, right? And you have to join. You have to do things with them. Do things like volleyball, you know, or softball. Or soccer, you know, whatever. You know, they're into sports. They go to women's music things. They go camping. I hate camping. You know, my Girl Scout troop leader called me the most unqualified camper in the group. I mean, I just hated that. You know, I just hated it, you know. Anyway, and so that's the problem. You know, I've wandered the world. I am the wanderer. I mean, you know, I know what I'm talking about. It's horrible. So anyway, basically, I have to say, I was forced to conclude there's some big difference, a huge difference between male homosexuality and female homosexuality, and that's why it came to my now very controversial conclusions about things. That is that there is that there's a falling back toward the mother in a lot of lesbianism. It seems to be the center of it. In fact, one of my lesbian friends said to me once, she said about her experience with lesbians, she said her explanation for lesbianism, she said, it's either about the mother, you either got too much tit or not enough. Is what she said, one of the two. I thought that's really interesting and true. And I have a friend who lives in Provincetown, you know, and so on, and we're always like saying, well, are they better this year? Are you getting a better group? No, they're just as dreary as ever, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now of course, real lesbians don't like to hear this. They don't want to be told they're dreary, okay? But who's going to goad them out of the dreariness that they've accepted? I mean, if you live in a dreary world, a gray world like, you know, like Bulgaria or something, after a while you accept it, all right, as the norm, okay? This is the world, this dreary world, and so on, okay? All right, so you know, my sudden appearance on the scene has really galvanized things because it's forced people to, first of all, it's opened people's eyes to the people around them, okay? Wherever I have been, okay, I have heard stories, tales from reporters, from other people about, about fights that have broken out, with friends, okay? Like, like the reporter will say, all these women in the office, I thought they were so wonderful, so liberal, and then but the way they carry on, they won't read your book. They say, oh, she's horrible, she's a fascist, why are you interviewing her? She shouldn't be allowed to speak, and all this stuff pours out of people who thought of themselves as liberal, okay, and who were impressing others around them as liberal, okay? So it's been a big revelation. I have actually heard of friendships breaking up. I have heard of relationships breaking up, okay, over this, okay, over me. And it's not that I'm important, it's that the issues that I'm forcing, okay, it's a kind of, people are sort of forced out of their bunkers and to reveal themselves for the first time, I've sometimes made the analogy, it's like, I'm like this plane that goes by zoom, it's like over Baghdad, or something where people send up flak, against the warplanes, like I just go through whack like that, and then the flak that goes up, okay, from people, the flak reveals positions that no one dreamed were there. So anyone who is interested intellectually in what's going on in America, whether, again, they favor my views or do not favor my views, has to be fascinated by what has been revealed in the last 2 years, because a lot of garbage has been revealed, okay? The neat polarities, liberal versus conservative, and especially the whole Lacan, Derrida, Foucault wing, okay? We're cutting edge, we're so fabulous. Well, that's in a wreck and ruin right now, okay? Because what's happened is something new happened in America, that their whole reputation for cutting edge is gone forever. Their students have gotten to me before they have, okay? And they're now 2.5 years behind on my book. They have a lot of reading to do, and they have a second book, and this is why my new book is in paper. The new book is in paper because it's going to the students. That's what I'm doing, okay? Forget it. The feminist establishment, forget that. And the academic establishment, it's locked in. The women there have tenure, the French theorists have tenure, they're going to be there till they die. So what I am doing is I'm inflaming a revolution from below, is what I'm doing, okay? I'm going directly to the students, okay? And if I can get to the students before women's studies gets to them, it's all over. So, at any rate, okay, all right, now, where's my publicist? Are you going to start waving to me yet? What time is it? I have more? Okay, wait, let me go for my list. Okay, I have tons of things. My lectures go on for hours. They have to terminate me. All right, wait a minute. Well, I just have to go through a list of things. Okay, now, the pro-sex wing of feminism, I'm very disappointed with what's happening, because, first, when I came on the scene, people said, oh, she's just repeating things that, no, well, okay, let's say Pat Califia, okay? Pat Califia, all right, if you want to really see how much she's like, for those of you who don't know, she's one of the, she's a very, to me, skillful writer of erotic fiction on the lesbian S&M extreme, and lives in San Francisco and so on. Now, you would think that if, in fact, Polly is offering nothing new, that Califia would then totally embrace her views and go beyond them and so on. You want to see all the PC that Pat Califia subscribes to. Okay, you have to see her negative attack on me, all right, in this last Sunday's Philadelphia Inquirer, her review of the new book, okay? PC, you can't even believe it. You see, these women, they're radical in their lives, in their sex lives, radical, but their ideas aren't radical. Their ideas are just as much enslaved by this feminist ideology as anyone else's. So again, when has Pat Califia ever exposed this? She's never had an opportunity to expose it. You see, the service I'm doing to feminism, okay, it drew Pat Califia out, okay, and suddenly you see the incredible list of banalities in that woman's mind. A woman who's as radical in her life as anyone on this planet, okay, and yet the cliches, okay, that she's just absolutely, just like, it just shocked even me, okay. And I've tried to make an alliance with Susie Bright. I've done my best, okay, to do that, but no, the divas on the side, no, we don't agree at all. I've had it, okay, I just was out there, and on our backs came to interview me, and I just slapped them around like that, okay, all right, I wouldn't put up with it. If they want to see what S&M is, I'll show them, okay, all right, okay. Now, the great other person I have hope for, Annie Sprinkle sent me her video, her newest video, and I was thrilled because I realized there's where, my sensibility mostly is. Is she here? Is she here? Where is she? She's up there, where? Oh, she's there? Hi, Annie Sprinkle. All right. Anyway, we don't know each other, but she sent me her recent video, and I thought, yes, here's where it is. Because my biases as a sexual thinker are coming out, first of all, from my support of prostitution, okay? I support it, okay? Oh, all right, okay, all right. Oh, Okay. I think this idea that prostitution is merely, the victimization of women, the oppression of women, that is absurd. Of course, women who are, amateurs have wandered into it, okay, and these women have a history of abuse and have a history of this and have a history of that, and then Dr. Joyce Brothers loves to get them on the show and say, there are no happy prostitutes, and I want to say to Dr. Joyce Brothers, there are no happy therapists. How about that? Okay, The great mass of prostitutes through history are invisible, okay? The more professional they are, the more skillful they are, the more they're invisible, all right? The only ones you see are the failures, all right? Those are the ones you see. And so, I feel that this is an ancient, industry. It's an art form. It goes all the way back to the sacred, cults of antiquity and so on. And I think my first sense of what a prostitute is or should be was in, Elizabeth Taylor's Butterfield 8. I was like 13 years old, right? And I went, I just thought it was dynamite, like Gloria, working her way down the alphabet of men, from Amherst to Yale. I loved that. I just loved that movie, okay, and so on. And I've always seen the prostitute as this enormous figure, okay? I have always honored the prostitute and will continue to do so. And I have a great sense of identification with them. I don't know why. I mean, I lived as a nun, but I guess nuns and prostitutes, they have something in common. I don't know, Mary Magdalene made a quick change there, went from one to the other, all right? And, also strippers and so on. I think stripping is a great art form, great dance form, et cetera, et cetera. And again, the way feminism always focuses in on the failures or the people who are abused, the people who are exploited. I think that it's just so naive about what the performance aspect of stripping, where actually the men, if you actually go and actually watch what's happening, you'll see the men are often, even if the men are in groups, the men are intimidated. Even the men in groups are intimidated by one stripper. And so on. The men they have to band together. If the woman comes up and so on. The men have to drink themselves into a stupor to have any nerve next to this power of the stripper. Okay, anyway, all right. So again, Annie Sprinkle's coming out of that, and also she's coming out of the thing that I'm from in the 60s, that is that weird combination of like mysticism and yoga, and like Hindu influences, and body influence and all that. And then there's a very striking image in this new video of hers that I think it just shows the big difference between this kind of feminism, this authentically coming out of the 60s, and yuppie feminism. And that is, and this may shock this audience, I don't know what to say, but there's one image in the very beginning of this phase of feminism. The early feminists had this authentic 60s thing. They were anti-middle class, anti-bourgeois. And there was a famous phrase that was everywhere, and it had to do with women in consciousness raising sessions. They would say to women, taste your own menstrual blood, okay? That was an early radical thing that was everywhere, that one heard, in the early phases. Now, what happened to that? You see, what happened to that? You can see, to think about that, okay? First of all, it's so sensory, okay, all right? It's so breaking of decorum, see, all right? It's so messy and sloppy, which is the reality of sex, because sex can never be made to fully tidy, okay, all right? And you can just try to imagine our middle-class yuppie feminists, okay, of the Faludi or Wolf ilk. Just imagine that, okay? See, you just can't get those two things out. Now, there's a very striking image in Annie Sprinkle's new video, and she's saying, paint your body with paints, paint it with this, paint it with that, and how about painting it with your menstrual blood? And there's this whole thing where someone puts red blood all over their body, and I thought, there is the one image, okay, that I can say that is radical, that is revolutionary, that is 60s, that is the real feminism, okay, because it's a reopening toward the sensory. It's breaking through all of the boundary lines that we have erected between the mind and the body and so on. So again, I think maybe coming out of this new fusion here, which in other words, sex as magic. Sex to me is magic. It's black magic, okay? It can't be fully controlled by grievance committees, okay? We don't want it to be controlled by grievance committees. The whole revolution of the 60s was about getting the authority figures out of our sex lives, okay? I am a libertarian. I do not believe that the state has any right to meddle in anything in the sexual realm at all, okay? Therefore, I support, This is why I support and endorse sodomy, okay, right? Why I am obviously pro-choice. I support suicide, the right to suicide, legalization of drugs, even while I have seen the terrible toll drugs have took on my generation and so on. And, but it just seems to me that if you want to follow this viewpoint, you have to see that when people go on a date, a consensual date, okay, that the woman should take full responsibility for what happens on that date, okay? The idea that somehow that you can negotiate later, okay, and assign blame for what happened on that date, okay, is happening all the time in the Ivy League. And again, I'm an academic, and I have many friends who have served on these committees, the campus grievance committees, and they say, you can't believe what's going on. You literally can't believe it. So with these rich, spoiled girls, okay, middle-class white girls, okay, up there in the Ivy League, okay, the incredible psychodramas, the incredible spectacles that are going on, around this theme of date rape, okay, with this thing. And then what happened? Well, then we went back to my room, and yes, I took all of my clothes off, and yes, I was in bed with him until 5:30, but then I wanted him to leave, and he wouldn't, okay, right, this is not 60s, okay, 60s is all about go for it, okay. Just go, do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying do it and stop complaining about it. See, my sense of identification with gay men has undoubtedly influenced me because I don't notice too many gay men, running to grievance committee. Well, then he did this. And I told him to stop, and he wouldn't do it. When gay men know what they want. They want sex. Okay, all right. They want it. They know what they want. Okay, let's have sex. Okay, we'll have sex here, there, everywhere. Okay, like this. All right. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. And they don't suddenly, like midway, say, I'm still making up my mind. Now, this seems to me so ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, all right. So, all right. So now, what else am I doing? Oh, wait a minute. Before they drag me off the stage, before the questions, wait. I want to go over my list here. What have I left out here? Oh, okay, here's some big issues I want to talk about. All right, for example, one of the problems I see in my view, there is no backlash to feminism. Okay, I've said this repeatedly. There is no backlash. Most intelligent people support feminism, okay, which, as I said, for me, the mission to achieve the full political and legal equality of women. But there is a terrible backlash against this outmoded feminist ideology of the last 20 years, a tremendous backlash. Even within feminism, there's a backlash to it, okay? So the error has been to identify this ideology, which sprang into the air, to identify that with the whole history of feminism, when I think, in fact, it is an atrocity. I think it is a kind of a bankruptcy. It is harming feminism for us to hold on any longer to this. So I think now, one of the things that has damaged this phase of feminism is, I think, the leaders, like Gloria Steinem, the leaders' over-involvement in party politics. Now, for me, feminism should transcend the political party system in any country, okay? That's what I believe. And I am a registered Democrat. I'm someone who voted for Jesse Jackson 4 years ago. People call me a neoconservative, so stupid, okay? I voted for Jesse Jackson. I voted for Clinton in the primary. I'm voting for him again. Okay, as a registered Democrat, I say, okay, that I think that the over-involvement with the establishment of feminists in Democratic Party politics has damaged feminism, okay? And similarly, the way the abortion campaign has been conducted has damaged feminism. I speak as someone who is pro-choice and who has supported, pro-choice groups, okay? That is the hysteria, okay? I began to really, just stand one more minute of it when, the kinds of mailings that you get, the unsolicited mailings, from the abortion groups. About 5 years ago, I began to notice a kind of insane turn that the rhetoric of those letters took. It was like the stereotyping of everyone who was against them. It was coming from, the heads of now. That anyone who's like a pro-life is fanatical, anti-woman, raving, reactionary fascist. That kind of language is pouring out of them now. Again, as someone who's pro-choice, I can recognize there's an ethical issue on the other side, okay? Someone who's pro-life, is not just in it because they're anti-woman. Maybe there are some who are anti-women, but to tar the entire pro-life movement, okay, as anti-woman, when in fact these people may be Christian and may have, religious reasons for thinking as they do, this has, again, damaged feminism, and it has produced a situation in this country where no one can speak without people screaming in the audience. It is absolutely insane. People can't believe this. All right, yeah. You can see this, okay? This is nothing compared to what happened at Brown. When I was at Brown, people are just screaming and yelling and screaming, and I just scream back, okay? It's just screaming and screaming and screaming, okay? And so on back, and just shut them up, basically, right? But I needed a security guard, okay, there. It was so appalling. I thought, this is Brown University? It's absolutely insane that these, intelligent women, these white middle-class girls from privileged backgrounds, right, that their entire minds were, deranged and obsessed with this date rape thing. I say obsessed, date rape. It's all I can think about. At the reception afterward, there were like 250 kids around me, okay? And you could see there were people struggling to ask me questions about art, struggling, including some black students, struggling to be heard. But no, the white middle-class girls, date rape, like this. All right, now, I went over, I went over to England early this summer, the Penguin edition of my book came out, and I had the most incredible, conversation with some Cambridge University women who came to interview me, okay? It went on for 2 hours. These were juniors, okay, the same age as the women at Brown. Unbelievable. The sophistication of their discourse. Unbelievable. We went on for 2 hours, and they were questioning me, and they had all these references from intellectual history, and they said, "It's very interesting now how about this, and how does your view differ from this?" And that. Unbelievable. Okay, this is why I'm on the warpath, okay? Because my critique of feminism is part of my larger critique of the problems with education in this country, okay? Because when we have our best young women going to the Ivy League and getting their minds destroyed by ideology, not opened, not refined, not made more sophisticated, do you realize that American... Do you realize that American women's studies has gotten nowhere over there, okay? It's nowhere, okay? That is, it's in some of the red brick universities, but Oxford and Cambridge, the young women, okay, of Oxford and Cambridge want the education the men are getting, and the education the men have always gotten, okay? And over here, forget it. Our best women are being funneled into these feminist theory courses, and they're being taught by women who have no record of feminism, okay? This is BS that those women ever did. I know who these women are, half of them, okay? They're careerists. Some of these women I knew in graduate school, and they showed no interest whatever in any topic that had to do with sex or anything else. They glommed onto feminism as a good career move. Now we have to stop identifying women's studies with all of feminism. All right. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm being madly signaled by my publicist, okay, who says I must stop. It's time for questions. There has to, how many? It's for the Q&A? Okay, we need the moderator for the Q&A. Okay, all right. All right, let me just look a minute. Oh, we never did do Anita Hill. All right. Keep going. They want me. Should I do Anita Hill?
Okay,
All
just
right.
Anita Hill.
All right. Let me just say, first of all, I listen very closely to the Anita Hill, hearings. I watched it very carefully, and I respected Anita Hill. I listened carefully, and again, I'm a teacher. Okay, 22 years of teaching, and a teacher learns how to sit in judgment. That's what you learn how to do. You learn how to grade. You learn, you get an intuition about students, about who needs encouragement, someone who's struggling and needs encouragement, who needs to be disciplined, like that. And whether you like it or not, a teacher becomes a hierarch, And I sat and I tried to judge as if I were sitting on a committee and listening to Anita Hill. Okay, and I listened to her for all those many hours that day, and I thought she seemed persuasive to me. I didn't there was something I felt the whole story was not coming out, okay? I felt there was a lack of the psychological dimension to her thinking. There was a lack of affect to her thinking. And I felt the way she was being questioned was wrong. That is, it wasn't going to the heart of what had happened. All right, so then, Clarence Thomas came out and just gave this huge thing that I found very impressive, and I think many people in the country also did. I think there was a tremendous injustice to both of them. But I have to say, again, I'm speaking as someone who saw the lack of sexual harassment principles in my school and fought for their adoption. And I think sexual harassment guidelines are great. They're especially necessary at a school like mine, which is an art school. I've been teaching art schools, for years because the regular universities wouldn't hire me. I don't fit into any slot, and so on. And in art school, it's not just like a regular university where we have a teacher talking and then people listening and writing notes. At an art school, the teachers actually have to put their hands on the students, whether it's in dance. The teachers have to go up and say, no, the leg has to go like this, or no, pull this out, or like in teaching the cello, a man may have to put his arms around a girl cellist to show her how to bow. It is absolutely part of the life of the performing arts. So I saw the need, because I saw again and again situations before all this burst forth about Anita Hill. There was, this is actually about cello students and about the string students I'm talking about, where, there is the need for this. I remember there was a whole debate going on in my women's studies class about this. Like, there were certain girls, and then there were other kinds of girls, okay? And the guys said to me, I'm so glad I'm not a woman. I don't have to deal with any of this, okay? But the guys said to me, the guys who were witnesses to all this in the classes, in the music classes, that of course other teachers would have no interest into it, they said, the girls, what the girl puts out is how she's treated by the teacher. See? All right? Okay? And there were these cases, okay, which were very vivid in my mind long before the Anita Hill thing, where you'd have, you'd have like sort of like a Barbie doll kind of a girl, like with kind of a lot of hair and big eyes and a lot of makeup, and just batting her eyes, like, sort of like Naomi Wolf, just like, bats her eyes and is not really aware of how seductive her behavior is. It's the way she's always been pleasing daddy since she was like 12, and she's so used to doing that. And these are the girls who wear a lot of perfume, okay? And I had to speak to them, okay? I had to tell them, these girls, tell them it's not professional for women to wear heavy perfume, okay? And they come in, like I have 8:30 classes, okay? And these girls come in, they have dumped half a bottle on themselves, and I say, and we're all like this, and I had to speak to them, tell them, it's happened again and again. They exude the perfume. Now, what do you think that's about? Right? You think someone is in there telling you, they're like flowers, orchids, like man traps. Here I am, come to me. All right, now, in current feminism, you can't say that, you see, okay, because that, you're blaming the victim, you're implying that women have some responsibility or have some choice in what they do, and of course we can't allow that, okay? And so this whole thing, they're giving out, and then they wear like these tight things, and they use their body in a certain way, and what do you mean? I can't imagine why you're relating to me like that. There's no sexual content to my behavior or whatever. I've seen this 1,000 times over my career, these girls. All right, at any rate, some of these girls got themselves into horrendous problems because the way, and again, the feminist thing would be, oh, they've been taught to behave like that. Oh, come on. People try to teach me to behave like that. I refused, okay, all right? We have free choice, okay? They just like the attention. They're addicted to the attention they've been getting from men their whole life. Like, all right, now, these girls have had repeated problems in my school. Repeated problems, okay? They're the ones who the conductor says, honey, darling, like that too, okay? And then they say, well, I don't know why he's doing that, like that, right? Meanwhile, there's the other girls, okay, who cut right through, okay? And these are like straight girls. They're not like, lesbian Amazons like me, okay? And sort of like, hey, cut it out, like that. Right from the start, they have an instinct about it. But why I felt sexual harassment rules were necessary at my school was for these girls who've been batting their eyes for like 10 years, okay, to tell them, all right, you have got to take more control, okay, of the space between you and other people, okay? You cannot just passively float into it, and attract like the bees to flowers anymore, because what's happening is the signals you're giving are producing these people rushing at you and grabbing you and snapping your bra strap and all that other stuff, okay? All right? See, and I think that's what the sexual harassment guidelines are for, to help women just starting out in a job or students, I think it's very good, for students to know about these things when they first arrive in college and so on, to tell them, to make them aware, to make them conscious, and to make them self-critical, okay? All right, so at any rate, I support sexual harassment guidelines, but I do not believe Anita Hill was sexually harassed, okay? I reject that claim, okay? I'm sorry. She was made uncomfortable. She was out of control of the situation, but I think it had to do with Clarence Thomas talking about porn. Now, where are, when people say that I think of feminism as monolithic, all right? Oh, she thinks of, we're very diverse, we're very pluralistic, and we have so many pro-sex people. All right, where are all the pro-sex feminists, okay, during this date rape thing and the sexual harassment thing? Where are they? Where are all these voices, okay? Nowhere to be heard, okay? Susie Bright and Pat Califia should have been out there, okay, making a huge deal about the date rape hysteria and about the Anita Hill thing. And finally, in her new book, you see Susie Bright has a couple paragraphs where it's very clear she's coming close to my view, but she backs off, okay, because she wants to keep her PC following. Well, I don't give a damn about my following, okay? I'm trying to look for the truth as far as I can see it, okay? All right? And I think this is the problem, all right, is that the proof of the monolithic nature of current feminist ideology for all what people think are these like little, arguments going on within it, the monolithic nature of it was shown by this one voice speaking about date rape, it's been this shrill voice been going on for several years, and the speed with which the Anita Hill situation became orthodoxy. If you want to see a good example of how, I mean, the country was divided about that. The country was divided about that. Suddenly, boom, St. Anita, okay, all of a sudden, okay, way over the edge of what the evidence supported. The evidence does not support the canonization of Anita Hill. The evidence is very ambiguous, and the evidence is that he never laid a hand on her. He talked about porno. Wow, gee, he talked about Long Dong Silver, put him away, bring the Bastille back, okay? I mean, so what? He talked about porn. Good, yay. I mean, yes, I want someone who talks about porn on the Supreme Court. That's what I want, okay? All right? Yeah. I mean, what did he do to deserve that crucifixion? That was ridiculous. Okay, oh my God, how awful! All right, now, in the story, to me, the most characteristic story. The senators asked her, this is famous scene like the cafeteria lunch, the government cafeteria lunch. Okay, and there he was talking about porn again. Okay, and so the senators asked Anita Hill, well, what did you do? And she said, I tried to change the subject. Like that. Try to change it. I mean, this is not feminism, okay? It has nothing to do with feminism, because my father, who was, was very Catholic and taught at a Catholic school and so on, he would not have tolerated talk of pornography. My father would have signaled his displeasure immediately, okay? He would have gotten up from a table. My father probably would have left a job if he had undergone anything like this. All right? To me, it's not a feminist issue. I'm someone who talks porn constantly. I have a bawdy mouth, okay, all right? And it's up to other people to signal to me whether they are made uncomfortable or not. Now, again, from my experience in teaching, the idea that you have these hierarchs who are these like incredible rapists who are looking for the victim all the time, that is not my experience as a teacher. My experience as a teacher is that you have masses of people whose eyes are glittering trying to get to you. That is what I have experienced, okay? All right? It is a two-way street, okay? And they're just looking at you, and they're looking at you, all right? Now, what I think was going on was basically Clarence Thomas wanted to date, yes, he did want to date Anita Hill, but maybe to marry her. What's wrong with ending up marrying somebody or even having a love affair? What are we going to ban? There's so many famous examples from Walter Kerr and his wife, of teachers marrying students. I mean, Bennington. I mean, half of Bennington had married its own students. I mean, up there. And so on. I mean, that's just something that happens. We have to allow for love affairs or sex happening, from something on the job. To try to go control that is absurd. Now, again, we need guidelines, seems to me, but the hostile workplace category of sexual harassment guidelines, I think that's appalling. I think it's appalling when people feel, oh, I don't like that nude thing you have from Penthouse on your locker. I feel sexually harassed by that. Take it away. Oh, come on, all right. Or someone says to you, hey, honey, how about all right, now again, drag queen feminism. Okay, the drag queens have a mouth, okay, a mouth that just burns and scorches the earth, okay, from a mile around, okay? Someone says something to a drag queen, boom, all right, and so on. I mean, just, like that. I'm saying if someone offends by words, use words back. We cannot have the state intruding into words, okay? My great 60s ideal is free thought, free speech, radical free speech, okay? And so Yuppie feminism wants to control speech, okay? It wants the grievance committee to control it. It wants, sexual harassment, cadres to be vetting it. Well, he said this to you, how awful, how offensive. Right now, the reason I can speak about this is because of my own experience. Right? As an early faculty member at Bennington, I believe that when I was in my really militant phase, I mean, I'm like really mellow now compared to the way I was, right? But I believe that time, and my political agenda as a feminist was such, okay, that everything had to give way to that, okay? And this is what led up to the notorious incident where I kicked this guy, okay, in the rear end, okay? Not one of my students. I have never kicked one of my own students, okay? All right? Much as they may have deserved it, okay, I have never done that. But here's a guy who, it was a period at Bennington when the college had just gone co-ed. Now that was, the colleges that did that, I made a mistake, I think. The women's colleges that did that, Vassar lost all of its distinction, as far as I'm concerned, when it went co-ed. Wellesley and Smith have retained, their identity. Oh, all right. Well, see, Bennington was one of those colleges that went co-ed. Now here, it had just done that in '69. I arrived in '72. Okay, and so, and many of us felt, the way these guys suddenly were taking over things. These guys who couldn't cut it, like at Harvard or Yale or Wesley or something, were ending up at these formerly women's schools and taking over everything and doing the student government and this and that. And we thought, who are these mediocre wimps? They were like nothing. They were nerds, who were like, and they just lording it over the women. So some of us felt something should be done about this. So the big, and see, this is like a feminist thing that I did, but it's leading up to the free speech thing, all right? So this guy, they had a nightclub, okay, and actually the other guy who was, doing this nightclub, was satirizing everyone on campus, everyone, faculty, students, everyone. The other guy went on to write Good Morning Vietnam. I mean, he's become like a Hollywood screenwriter and so on. Anyway, it offended everyone, it satirized everyone, blah, 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 and I said, these guys have to be put in their place taking over a women's school, okay? So I called up the young president of Bennington, Gail Fane Parker, all right, and I said, this guy should be kicked in the ass, okay? And she said, you're right, Camille, he should be kicked in the ass. See, she was a WASP, right? I'm Italian. And when I say I'm going to kick someone in the ass, I mean it literally, okay? And WASPs think about it metaphorically. And so we had this conversation. We completely misunderstood each other. I said, she said, yes, he should be kicked in the ass. I said, really? Gail, really? Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to kick him in the ass. She said, go do it. I said, I'm going right now, Gail. She said, go do it. I swear to God, that's what happened, okay? I put my jacket on, and I went to the snack bar, okay, in Bennington. I sat there, and I waited for him to come, okay? And in front of the whole crowd, see, the whole point of this is I'm small, I'm 5'3", and this guy's tall, big, okay? I wanted to show that he was a whim, okay? This is like a feminist prank. And so this is like 1974. And so he walks in, and I go, I rush at him, I gripped him by the collar, okay? And I whirled him around, okay? All right? And I had those fry boots, those big old fry boots, they were boom, okay, and he sprawled on the ground, okay, and then I said to the whole snack bar, was crowded, I said, this is revenge for the nightclub, okay, right? Now, as I was walking out, I saw his glasses had slid, had fallen off, and I picked them up and I threw them on the couch. Now, look at the way myth starts. Want to see how myth starts? It was said afterwards, okay? She rushed at him, tore off his glasses, and stomped on them, and that's the only way she was able to defeat him, okay, right? You see what I mean? That's ridiculous. I would never have done that, okay, right? Anyway, all right, but here's the point. Then there were all these committee meetings, blah, 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 and so on, all this stuff, okay? And half the college thought it was funny, like the performing artists thought it was great. She kicked someone in the rear end, like that, and meanwhile, the book people thought it was terrible, because they're like much more nerdy, okay? Oh, that's terrible. She kicked someone in the rear end. I said, okay. So anyway, there's this huge thing, and I ended up protecting the president's role in it, and blah, 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 and they didn't do anything to me. But the issue that was raised at the time was violence. Should I have used violence, okay? Because it was like, in the early 70s, right? And the other issue was like appropriate teacher behavior toward a student, even if not one of my students, right? The issue that was not raised, okay, is the issue that occurred to me like at least 10 years later. It was 10 years later, okay? And that was that this fellow had the right to free speech, okay? Satire has to be protected. Merely because he was being offensive, okay, does not mean I had the right, okay, as a militant feminist to put my political agenda above his right to free speech, okay? And that's what I feel now, see? And so that's why I'm against the speech codes. I'm against any kind of intrusion into or attempted governance of speech, including the Anita Hill case. You see where I'm coming from on this, okay? Because I think that, again, that this is totalitarian. I mean, to me, looking back on it now, it seems to me it's too close to the behavior of, Hitler Youth, okay? That is just someone coming out of nowhere and like just attacking you for something that you had said, because what you had said had offended some preset agenda. So, the only good thing about that incident was it did energize the women. I mean, the women loved it, the women of Bennington College, and I was presented with a poster, like 2 days later, the award of the Golden Boot, okay, I was presented with this poster, and by the way, the men never uttered another peep. I mean, those men were utterly, I mean, it worked, okay, all right, it solved that problem, okay. We didn't notice the men again until, even after they graduated, they just became invisible. They like that. All right, so at any rate, all right, we should get some questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're now going to take questions for Professor Paglia. Should be happy to answer them, but please keep them short and to the point and refrain from speech making. Yes, I will repeat them. Excuse me, what is the question?
It's about how she can say that she's the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that a hostile workplace is sexual harassment. Secondly, does she believe that Anita Hill has a real motive? Anita Hill minded when a person in power,
This is a speech.
Yeah, this is a speech.
Get to the question.
Excuse me.
What is your question?
Let me.
What is your question? We're not in here for a dialogue. Everyone wants to have a question. What's the question?
Excuse me, I have to ask you to sit. I need I need simple questions. We only
All right,
have
let's go on
very
to another
short
question.
time.
All right,
Lady
that's
in the
not an answerable
back.
question. That's not an answerable question. Go ahead. Where are you? Still I stand up?
I'm sorry.
Pardon? What is your question? What is your question? We're going to terminate this if they can't ask questions. If you can control this, what? I'm looking
yes.
for a question.
Yes, this person over here.
A short question. Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
Okay, the question is, what does
Sinead O'Connor. Yeah.
Camille Paglia think of what Sinead O'Connor did on Saturday Night Live?
You know, I'm not an admirer of Sinead O'Connor, okay, because I don't like message art. I just don't, okay? I don't like sanctimoniousness. I don't like preaching, okay, from anyone. This is why I left the Catholic Church. I mean, I left the Catholic Church because of the dogma and the preaching. For 18 years, I had to sit there and listen to preaching. I'm not going to listen to it from Sinead O'Connor, okay? And I think that this whole, like, conscious thing, she's so conscious of everything she does. It's all so calculated. I prefer Madonna, you know, making her mistakes and her vulgarity. I mean, Madonna's more my thing. But people love Sinead because it's like a period where people want seriousness, you know? And to me, her persona, or her asexual persona, I regard as hideous beyond belief, okay? You know, I just find her posing, you know, and her, like, as if somehow she's in touch with all the sufferings of humanity and no one else is, you know? Because I say repeatedly in my work that comedy is the sign of a balanced perspective on life, okay? That is, the relations between the the relations between the sexes are a comedy, and they are not a tragedy, okay? And although they may tend toward melodrama, okay? And the problem is when people are like this and talking about sex like that, you know they don't have it all together. And I have learned enormously, much more from the great stand-up comedians. I mean, they are very close to me, going back to Lenny Bruce, okay? I have watched them devotedly. I'm a great fan of people like Joy Behar, Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, there's a huge numbers of Joan Rivers, I mean, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel that if you follow the comedians, if you watch the comedians, you will be more in touch with sexual reality than if you listen to feminists, okay? Because the feminists have a view of what should be, okay? But the comedians deal with what is, okay? Because every day they go out and they work the audience, they feel the audience. So when you get the jokes that are about men and women, you get the laugh, okay, coming from the audience of surprise recognition, okay? Then you know that you're onto the truth. You've hit the truth. The comedians and I are absolutely on a vibe with each other. And of course, you know, anyone who has worked for 22 years as a teacher, okay, at 8:30 a.m. classes, I mean, this is how you develop the style. Okay,
yes,
thank you for your very nice question.
The question is the difference between calculation and style.
In terms of Sinead O'Connor, in terms of art, okay, that is, you know, Oscar Wilde was talking a lot about this in the late 19th century, about a certain kind of Victorian fiction that was full of moral messages and moral meanings. And we're at that time again, in the late 20th century, a time when people begin with the idea. They begin with the idea, the approved message, and we're at a time where artworks have plastered across them messages, you know, so like the PC messages. All these, you know, we have to, you know, show our seriousness by being committed to this cause and that cause and that cause. And to me, art wells up from something that's unconscious or irrational, okay? And poetry, for example, it finds words after the fact, and that's true for music too, okay? And that's why the kind of singing I love is like, for example, an album right now that I'm listening to non-stop is the new Delight album. I wrote them a fan letter, okay? All right? Because the Lady Kira's lyrics there are what I'm talking about, okay? She is merely vocalizing, okay? She is vocalizing, and now and then you get a syllable or a word. Maybe you'll get that, okay? And it's coming out of such deep artistic consciousness, okay? It's coming up from below. Sinead is like the war room, it's like that, all right? You know? It's like you can just see it's like little machines going on in her head. That to me is not art. The artist should be impelled by instinct into other, like, you know, like Madonna, the way Madonna is like just blundering. God knows what will happen in 2 weeks. You know, we don't know what's going to happen, okay? All right. The Pope will tear up her picture, you know, presumably. I don't know. I don't know. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes. Well, the question is, what do you think of Hillary Clinton and Tipper Gore?
I like both of them, actually. I think Tipper Gore has got a very bad deal, about her stand about rock and roll lyrics. I think that her stand was totally, distorted by Frank Zappa, whom I also like. But Hillary Clinton, I like a lot. My favorite moment was that the 60 Minutes thing where she was sitting there and she was in control, and poor Clinton was totally abashed, like a little boy. Like that, so, and she was like carrying on like that time, and she said, I'm not just standing here like Tammy Wynette by man. And when the other thing she said, I love the other thing she said, which people have forgotten, where she goes, well, if you don't like my husband, heck, don't vote for him, like that. I love that, okay? She was so feisty. I thought it was great. And then I loved the way she was in the days following that. You could just see she had this great way. She has a great mind and very smart. And I love the way that she could just find the lucid, everyday sort of almost slang sentence for these other ideas. So I'm sorry that they got into this whole thing of her baking cookies, and I think there was overkill there and tilting too far in the other direction, back toward the cookies. But I think they're a great political combination, and I hope they get elected. But anyway, yeah. Oh.
Yes, there.
Now. First of all, I'm a great Freudian.
The question is, for those who don't hear in the balcony, what do you think about Freud, and have you ever considered psychotherapy?
Now, I'm a Freudian. I adore Freud, okay? But I'm not right down the line, as a Freudian. And of course, I'm on the record as, obviously this person has not read any of my work, okay? You can tell, okay? Because I am constantly talking about Freud and the problem with the way Kate Millett kicked Freud out from the feminist movement and so on. But it's everywhere in my work, Freud. But the thing is, Italians have this trouble with therapy. Harold Bloom, my great mentor, okay, at Yale, said to me, if you're so, because this is one of the things that drew us together. He said, you have to be analyzed. This was graduate school. You have to be, anyone who's like a Freudian has to be analyzed. I said, why do I have to be analyzed? He says, you have to. Okay, so he set up this thing, with this woman, doctor, the therapist at Yale, okay, all right, and I had to go see this woman. And so for 15 minutes I sat there, and finally I began laughing. I said, this is ridiculous. I said, what am I doing here? Because Harold Bloom told me to come here. This is ridiculous. So I said, just because I have to be analyzed. And she said, this is ridiculous. So that was it. I've had 15 minutes of therapy, okay? This is why you have a very long book by me, okay? Because you see, the book is, in effect, I think my women friends and I, and my gay male friends have engaged in a 30-year process of mutual analysis. I think that is the basis of our friendship. I have a kind of clan of friends that go way back for decades. And my friend, the writer Bruce Benderson, we are constantly analyzing each other. We are constantly finding new things. Oh, yes, and your brother that time, and yes, and your brother, and yes, I see this, and I said that. Okay. So I think it's it is a kind of lifestyle with me. Psychoanalysis is a lifestyle, right? But wait. I realized what my problem was. I realized at the time what my problem was with therapy. The transference. I am an Aries woman, okay, like Betty Davis, okay? We are bossy, okay? Domineering, okay? We cannot stand anyone above us, okay? We cannot stand any authority figure above us. That's my problem. I cannot make the transference, all right? In situations as an early teacher, when they would want to have another teacher come in, a senior teacher, to observe you teaching, I am like just like a cheetah caged. How dare you get out of my classroom? I am your captain of this ship, like that, et cetera, et cetera. I have tremendous authority problems as a 60s person as well as an Aries. So that's my problem with therapy. I'm not going to sit there talking to somebody. All right.
Let's take a question from the balcony. Any questions? Yes. Where do you personally draw the line between sexuality and rape?
I think it's extremely fluid, very, very fluid. Now, for me, I define rape as either stranger rape, all right, or the intrusion of sex into a non-sexual context, okay? Those to me are rape. And I'm on record, my rape essay begins as saying rape is an outrage that cannot be tolerated in civilized society. What I have opposed, I haven't been going around critiquing rape per se. What I have critiqued is the date rape discourse. I do not accept date rape as a special category. To me, there is either rape or not rape. If a real rape occurs, it should be reported to the police, okay? How I got involved in all this was that I absolutely opposed the idea of going to a campus grievance committee because the courts take too much time. See, a lot of my animus came from the appearance of 50 brown girls on the Donahue show, okay, in that famous case. You may remember when they were posting the rapist names in the toilet. Remember that huge thing? It was like 2 years ago, okay? And my blood boiled, okay, when I saw these girls carrying on and carrying on and carrying on, you know, and other people say, well, you know, and why should I have to see my rapist in my calculus class like that? Well, because he's innocent until proven guilty, you know, in our culture. How about that, girl? Or like that, you know? I mean, really, and on and on and on. See, now, you know, and so the press missed the story, by the way, about that, you know, with the rapist names in the toilet. It completely missed the story, okay? The thing was, wow, what a big issue that they would post names in the toilet. The real issue is, what were Ivy League girls doing writing in the toilet, okay, all right? Okay? Because when I returned from Bennington after being kicked out of my first job at Bennington after 8 tumultuous years there, okay, I went back to Yale to finish Sexual Persone, and in the 8 years I had been gone, from 1972 to 1980, okay, you know, see, the first undergraduate women had come in there in 1969 while I was still in graduate school at Yale. Something happened. In 1980, I said to all my friends, something is going wrong with feminism, because I was stunned when I walked into the ladies' room, the toilets, and Yale University, the library toilets, and found them covered with graffiti. A graffiti that seems so schizzy, that seems so paranoid, that you would expect to find in the Port Authority bus terminal, okay? It was that bad. It was full of the language of nausea, of disgust, of self-hatred. I could not believe what I was seeing covered. There were no such graffiti when I had left, okay? So this is what I said. And then I began saying, what is going on here, okay? So see, this phenomenon, why are women feeling so impotent and so paralyzed? What conflicts are going on in these young women, okay, that are leading to this overflow? And see, to me, and I felt this at Brown, the date rape hysteria, okay, is not about rape. It isn't about rape, okay? It has become a symbol, an icon for the contemporary feminist, okay, to condense all of her anxiety about her body into, okay? Everything, contemporary feminism can explain nothing about the body because it's social constructionist, okay? And even, that is, it believes that everything that we are is coming from environmental pressures, okay? Even when you have an essentialist drift, okay, in some feminist thinkers, it's still all very Betty Crocker, okay? How wonderful, we're women and we're more nurturant and we're superior to men. It's like that kind of thing, the Carol Gilligan line and so on, right? And so on. See, the idea that there are dark things going on in the body, dark things, that women are out of control of their bodies, that a huge thing, you know, whacks into motion at puberty, okay, that is like this machine that ties us into nature, that's going to go on and on and on and tortures you, you know, if you're trying to resist it, okay, right? And the way women repress, okay, the actual physical facts of menstruation in Yuppie feminism, okay, and of childbirth in Yuppie feminism, okay, because childbirth is so wonderful, it's so beautiful, you know, and so on. I have heard from a lot of people now, okay, all right, you know, like these women have told me, they say, you know, you're so right on about this, like the childbirth is like a barbaric spectacle which people are repressing from themselves, okay? Because, you know, husbands today are taught, join with your wives in this beautiful experience as your child comes into the world. Well, a woman reporter told me, okay, she was like 60, over 60 years old, she said her son, who swallowed that line, went into the birthing room and fainted dead away, okay? When he saw it, okay? And then this other thing is the baby comes out of the womb, okay, and you say, look how beautiful your child is. And when in fact the newborn is the most hideous thing, okay, right? See? You're taught, yes, it's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. You see, you're taught these Betty Crocker formulas, all right? So what I'm saying is that, you know, one of the ways that I first also began thinking about this was Francesca Stanfill, who was one of the earliest classes of undergraduate women from Yale. She's the one who did the big article on me for New York Magazine like a year ago. I didn't know her before she did that article. And we met here at the Y in one of the other rooms, okay, when she came up to me after the lecture on women in Hollywood. She said to me, she's had 2 children now, and she's tried to work as a journalist, and she's a novelist and so on. She said, nothing in my Yale education prepared me for motherhood, okay? Nothing. Now, we have to think about that. For 4 years, you could have this education, and there's nothing that addresses the problems, okay, and mysteries and weird, you know, tensions and magnetisms and conflicts, you know, of motherhood, okay? There's something very wrong here. So what I'm finding going wrong, this is why I think the date rape thing is, it's an absolute red herring. Date rape is a red herring. Girls who are obsessed with this question, obsessed with it, okay, and go around, you know, like just sure that they have the right answer. Every one of these girls that I have encountered, okay, and going on the lecture circuit and so on, they all are in some way alienated from their own bodies, okay? And it's become a way to symbolize what the horror and the terror of being out of control of their own bodies, okay? right? And because that's the only thing that can explain the derangement, the hysteria that's at the level of the Salem witch trials in this issue, okay? Because the issue itself is not worthy of this, okay? Of course we should be concerned about rape. Of course we should be concerned about murder, okay, in theft, in every atrocity, embezzlement, everything we should be concerned about. Why has this issue emerged, okay? Except that it's a useful tool for women to keep men at a distance, okay, and to stereotype men and to caricature them, when in fact ethical men throughout history have condemned rape, okay? The idea that feminism discovered the rape question is absurd, okay? All right, I've said in my writing, that, the fall of the tyrants of Rome was due to the rape of Lucretia by Tarquin, for heaven's sakes. Ethical men have always been scandalized and horrified by rape, all right? The idea that they encouraged it, okay? They encouraged it and applauded it and so on. I mean, of course you're going to have stupid behavior everywhere, okay? Of course you're going to have a breakdown of social controls and, in all kinds of situations, whether it's soccer matches, in Europe or looting in America, anywhere, okay? You're going to have an outbreak of crime. But at any rate, I feel that we know nothing about the body. And here we are at a time of, when social constructionism rules in the Ivy League, and look where the people's minds are at. The people have made Gail Sheehy's book on menopause, okay, a bestseller, okay? And here we have Germaine Greer coming over with her book on menopause, okay? And finally, these two books are going to force people, all the social constructions there in the little ivory towers to say, oh, there is such a thing called hormones. Gee, well, I don't know anything about it. I refuse to, okay, because, Gail Sheehy pointed out, she said on the Oprah show, it's in the book, she said that when you ask doctors about menopause, what are the signs of menopause, they'll say, well, as menopause approaches, you either will bleed more often or less often. You'll either, either have like more pain or less pain. It'll either be heavier or lighter. They know nothing, okay? And the idea that, oh, well, it's only because, the patriarchy hasn't given enough money for women's issues. Excuse me, the difficulties of doing even a scientific experiment with women, because I have said to my doctors, like, take a hormone test. And they say, what's the point? 1 hour from now, your hormones are different, okay? They can't even find 2 women in the same hormonal condition, okay, to make an experiment on, much as 100 women, much as 1,000 women. This is why we know nothing. The staggering ignorance that we labor in about the body and about nature. It's staggering. And instead we have all this hubris, okay, all this hubris about social construction. And so all of these buried tensions and conflicts are, underground tensions, have erupted into date rape. That's my analysis, okay?
Okay,
right.
We have time for one more question.
Oh, I'm having fun.
Woman right here. Yes, you. Okay, the question is, what do you like or admire about women?
Well, I've been in love with women since I was like 5 years old, for heaven's sakes. I love women's glamour. I love women. I think that the women's brains are multi-tracked, okay? That is that women see much more than men do. Men are tunnel vision. This is why I have, this is my explanation for why men have been, great artists and so on, and why they're great computer hackers and chess players and all that stuff, and why they become serial murderers. My famous sentence, there is no female Mozart because there's no female Jack the Ripper, okay? I think men have the capacity for this tunnel vision, this obsessiveness. My experience with women, over the decades is that women's minds are operating continually on multi-tracks, okay? And my sense about this, like for example, one of my colleagues, once came into my class and he said, I don't understand this. He said, how can you be lecturing at top speed like that, okay, and be noticing enough to say, get your feet down, stop talking, you're chewing gum, blah, 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 like that, and so on and so on. And I said, what do you mean, you can't do that? He said, no, when I'm lecturing, I don't see anything. I said, really? This is confirming something that I have noticed repeatedly about men. When men are arguing with you, like men can be carrying on about politics or religion, okay, you could look at your watch, okay, you could yawn, okay, everyone goes away going, like that. The men don't notice. The men are locked on like elks. Locked on. Right? And so I said to my colleague, my God, not only can I be doing the lecture, not only can I be noticing what's going on all around me like this, I have that global awareness, but I'm planning the menu, I'm doing the laundry, I'm doing all these other things. You see, this is my explanation for this thing about, Susan Faludi says men have to do more of their labor at home, do the more work. obviously the reality is, okay, women say to the man, stay out of it, just sit down, okay, because like the woman can get it all done faster and more efficiently, okay, see, this is why women are doing more, they can do more, and I think, I don't know, it may be biological, I don't know, okay, but I think that women are more realistic, they're more centered, and here is the great revelation that I had over my life, okay, because I feel that at age 13, I was where feminism is now, that is, I thought men were terrible, men must change, and so on and so forth. What I saw at age 13 in 1960 was I saw male oppression, okay, and female victimage. That's what I saw. I thought men are tyrants. Why are women putting up with this? Women must be freed. Now, 30 more years later, here's what I now see, okay? Women know men are frail, okay? And that women are in a worldwide conspiracy to protect men from the knowledge of their own frailty. I see things completely differently now. I know. See, if I knew what I know now, if I could go back at age 16, my whole dating career would have been different. I would know how to date men much better because I wanted to sleep with them, but I couldn't stand them. I didn't know how to deal with them, and now I realize men need maintenance. I never saw it. Men and women know this. The mature heterosexual woman knows, okay, that men have to be kept going from day to day to day to day. See? Okay? See, what I see now is the frailty of male egos. At that time I thought they were these huge monsters. I no longer see that. So feminist ideology, by training young women, okay, that they are victims and that the men are oppressors, see, I think it's stagnating them, keeping them in that 13-year-old track that I was in, okay? So I've made it evolve. So I feel that women are more practical. This happens all the time. When I talk to people constantly now on the phone, it's amazing. I'm talking to a woman on the phone. She could be a producer in a network. She could be, she could be a newspaper reporter. She could be someone in Europe, whatever. Boom! Within 10 minutes, she and I are going, and we have absolutely this communication over the phone even. Women can get into this intimacy relation with other women. It's absolutely incredible. Men go through their entire lives, okay, never having the kind of intimacy with anyone except their wives, okay, all right, that women can get with women. See, this is why when the husband drops dead, the widow goes on for 30 years, okay, all right. But if the wife drops dead, the man pines and declines, and it's been proven he can't make friends. He has no friends. She was his contact. It was she who was his emotional contact with the world, see? So now what I feel is feminism, we've made the point, okay, now, all right? The professions are open, okay? It's up to every woman to make her way, okay? And if there's overt bias, it should be dealt with immediately and confrontationally and so on. I believe in vengeance. I'm hardly a passive person. But the moment has come in feminism for us to turn back toward men. I'm not saying to excuse them, not at all. When they get out of line, slap them around. I believe in that, all right? Okay? But I'm saying we must look back at men and accept them as men. Accept them, okay? And no longer have this idea, which Yuppie feminism does, that feminism wants men to be like women, okay? And so there's like this checklist. Well, you should be doing this, and you should be, well, why aren't you like this? And why aren't you? Well, maybe men can never be like women. Maybe men will never be able to be so totally in touch with their feelings. Maybe only artistic men or gay men, can be in touch with their feelings in the way that, that women are, okay? So this is why feminism is in this state of continual grievance, and it's turning to nagging, worldwide nagging, okay, all right? This is all right. So what I'm calling for is an Italian-based kind of thing. I believe, as an Italian culture, strong men, strong women. Okay, we have to, and I think that only the foreign press has noticed the parallel between me and Robert Bly. People over here don't. If they talk about it all, they'll say, oh, in the Village Voice, it said, oh, she would be insulted if she. Well, I'm not insulted at all. A parallel with Robert Bly, because Bly is doing for his gender what I'm doing for mine. That is recovering the great archetypes, the great stereotypes, the great myths. And I think that there's something going wrong between the sexes, in the sexual charisma of both genders. It's dwindling, okay? In this you should be like this, and you should be like this, and you should be like this. It's like the honeymooners, okay? Everyone is at each other, all the time, okay? I belong to the period that comes from identification with, again, gay men and drag queens. I love glamour. Even though I'm totally dowdy in real life, I'm the Agnes Gooch. I'm Mame on the road, but Gooch at home, and so on. And I love it. I love beauty, and I love, glamour and charisma. And my idea of the sexes, a lot of it was, formed by Hollywood movies. And I think we should be as fabulous as possible. That's why my vision of drag queen feminism is based on fabulousness at every moment, and so on. And I think that we just got to get out of this constantly bickering. We're at a stage of bicker, okay? And the idea that we're ever going to retrain men or re-educate them, we can't do that, okay? All we can do is make sure that there's equality of opportunity, okay? And tell every woman, okay, enter the game, get on the playing field and play your heart out, and don't whine, don't go and whine, when you get knocked around. Play the game by the rules, that are out there and so on. But we have got to stop this scorn, mutual scorn, okay, that the sexes have for each other, okay? And acknowledge the fact of woman's dominance. I think that's it, okay, to me. All right. No.
Hey. I want to thank Camille Paglia for being with us here for a very outside.
Thanks for listening. For more information on the 92nd Street Y, New York, and all of our programs, please visit us at 92ny.org.